Love-inspired suspense and HarperAudio present Trailing a Killer by Carol J. Post. Performed by Emma Lysy. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. 1. Erin Jeffries moved down the 2-lane road that spanned the 18-mile length of Pine Island. Sheets of rain slapped across the windshield, the final fury of a storm that had pounded the area for most of the night. Ahead of her, a metal post stood at the edge of the sidewalk, devoid of whatever sign it had held yesterday, and stubborn fronds clung to battered palm trees. A hodgepodge of limbs, metal, wood, and plastic littered the roadside. Florida had seen worse. This one was only a Category 3, but it still packed enough punch to be dangerous. If the report she'd gotten was accurate, someone was trapped in the rubble of a building that had collapsed. He would probably come out of the experience with a new respect for Mother Nature, if he came out of it at all. At the northernmost tip of the island, Erin navigated a gentle left turn. Charlotte Harbor lay to the right, invisible behind the rivers that flowed down her windows. She glanced in her rearview mirror. The top of a crate peeked over the back seat of her RAV4. Her white German Shepherd was inside. Almost there, Alcee. Maybe the current band of rain would move past them by the time they had to exit the vehicle. If not, she and Alcee would still do what they needed to. Emergency personnel ventured out as soon as conditions were safe, not necessarily comfortable. Erin lifted her foot from the accelerator. Captain Khan's fish house lay to the left, and the grassy area beyond offered boat trailer parking. Main Street continued farther, but public access ended there. A sheriff's vehicle sat off the roadway, ensuring no one ventured past the no trespassing sign. Erin could get through with her badge identifying her as a detective with the Lee County Sheriff's Office. But today she was acting in a different capacity. As she drew to a stop, the deputy exited the vehicle, head tilted downward beneath the hood of his rain slicker. Erin cracked her window enough for conversation. The deputy had just started to give her a curt nod when a smile spread across his face. She and Joe had started with Lee County a year ago, both in patrol. 9 months later, she'd made detective, at least in part due to the glowing recommendation the department in Sunnyvale, California, had given her. Though their paths didn't cross that often, they'd stayed on friendly terms, friendly enough for Joe to keep trying to match her up with his former neighbor. Joe glanced at the dog in the back. I take it you're not on duty? Not with Lee County. Alcee and I are volunteers with Peace River Canine Search and Rescue. We're looking for hurricane victims? One, anyway. She'd gotten the call right after daybreak and had been ready to respond within 10 minutes. Every mandatory evacuation. There are always people who think the mandatory part of that phrase doesn't apply to them. He shook his head and, after wishing her success, waved her through. Erin raised the window and crept past him. Her destination was on the last small street branching off Main, a large older home that had been converted to apartments. She made a left onto Boca Vista and drove past the first residence. When she stopped behind the sheriff's vehicle sitting in the next drive, she released a low whistle. The building in front of her seemed to have tipped forward, the 2 upper stories falling onto the first. Rafters, joists, and studs jutted outward from the jumble like broken bones. Her hope that the rain would slack off by the time she arrived hadn't materialized. She reached for the slicker in the seat beside her. Alcee's search and rescue vest wouldn't do anything to keep her dry, but at least the big fat drops weren't cold. Florida rain in August was just wet. Erin shrugged into her raincoat.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?